Hello friends, in this video I am going to discuss the Romantic age in history of English literature. Though I have covered all the ages before this one, and in this video I'll discuss Romantic age. So let me give you a brief background of this age. So the age before that was neoclassical, as you know. That was also known as age of reason, age of enlightenment, because the writers they imitate the classics. But this age is different because the writers shift from classics and they started a new type of writing that is known as lyrical ballads, initiated by William Wordsworth. I told you later on what lyrical ballad is. And as far as monarchy was concerned, king at that time was George III, and important events of that age include the Industrial Revolution, American independence, and French Revolution. And we'll see the characteristics of this age as well. So let's get started. Romantic age, romantic era, or romanticism also known as, and the characteristics include artistic, intellectual, and literary movement, and it was a reaction to French Revolution. And the main theme of romantic poetry is nature. So we'll see emphasis on emotions and individualism. As we saw in previous age neoclassical, there was focus or emphasis on reason, but here there was emphasis on emotions, individualism, and nature. The main theme of poetry writing was nature and common man. Subject matter include nature and common man. Some influential writers include William Blake. He was a poet, artist, romantic poetry, and his poem include Tiger, the Lamb, Chimney Sweepers, and many more. And the most influential literary figure of this age, William Wordsworth. I told you before, he initiated the lyrical ballads in 1798, and it was a collection of poems initiated by Wordsworth and Samuel Taylor Coleridge, and they are the first generation poets of this age. We'll see who are the first generation poets and who are second generation poets as well. And his poem include the prelude and ode to imitation of immortality. We are seven as well. And second influential writer, St. Coleridge, and he was a poet, and his work include Rime of Ancient Mariner and Dejection, which is an ode, and Kubla Khan as well. And George Gordon Byron, he was a poet, and another figure, and P.B. Shelley. And P.B. Shelley, and she was very important literary figure, poet, and work include Ode to West Winds, and another important figure, John Keats, and his important works include Ode to Nightingale, Ode to Grecian Urn. And now we'll see characteristics of romantic age. The first one is love of nature. So the main theme of writers was nature, so they discovered a new beauty and wonder in the world, and they expressed it in poetry, their emotions and reaction to the beauty of nature. So Wordsworth was the first to romanticist to discover a new wonder in nature. Another important characteristic, interest in the past. So they believe that the past was remote from present reality, and remoteness and distance that leads a wonder and enchantment to life. And another characteristics include the mystery. So they seek the strange and mysterious things, reveal the wonder of things removed from real life, and feelings that arouse their curiosity in uncertainty and supernatural. And another important thing is interest in humanity. As I already told you, the main theme also include common man, individualism. So they deal with the lives of common men and women and glorify the innocence and simplicity of common men. And doctrines of freedom, equality, brotherhood inspired the poets of this age. And another important characteristic, freedom of imagination as well. So it was a revolt against the stereotype conventions of art, and they just break all these conventions, and they got a freedom of imagination as well. Subjectivity and spontaneity, so their own feelings and emotions, facts of realities of life they portray, and poetry to them was spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings and love for the elemental simplicities of life. So they sought to bring people back to bosom of nature, because as you know that at that time industrial revolution takes place and people from villages they just move to cities or towns, so they just populate, pollution was there, and modernity, they were moving towards modernity, and they just moving away from nature. So writers of this age write to bring back people to nature. And another important characteristics is the generation of poetic style. Their interest in the past led them to experiment with old meters and poetic forms. As you know, there was restrictions in previous age on poetry, means in terms of meters and poetic forms, and unlike neoclassical, they just got freedom of imagination and they break those convention, and they just write without this restriction of meters or poetic forms. And so in poetry of revolt, the poetry of this age include poetry of revolt, and as I already told you, they break all the rules of meters or any other convention in poetry, and they got freedom of imagination of their own, and every poet is associated to write as the poet's spirits move him. And this enthusiastic spirit of liberty led to emotions, enormous output of poetry. And poetry of simplicity, yes, they just emphasize on simplicity, and they choose incidents and situations from common life and to relate or describe them throughout in all selections of language reality used by men. And poetry of men, yes, focus on common men, individualism or humanism you can say, and common or ordinary man was the focus. And poetry of nature, the main theme of their poetry was nature. In nature, romantic poets found their initial inspiration, and nature was a very dominant theme and occupied a very prominent role in the poetry. Nature is a something pure and uncorrupted, and therefore almost spiritual for them. So that's all about this age. Hope you understand. The notes are in the description. Thank you for watching.